believe we are live now. Let me get the mic. I haven't got my mic yet. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Askanwi Media. Thank you so much. My name is Yusuf Taylor, alias Flexdan, coming to you today from our in-home studio. Askanwi Media, Yusuf Taylor, as I said, the editor for Askanwi, coming to you on Facebook and on YouTube. We wanted to do a rundown, give you a weekly breakdown of the stories that we've been publishing on Askanwi Media that you can go and read and listen. Sometimes we've got videos, we're using videos to dramatize these news so that you, the Gambians, can, especially those who not so versed in English, we will see our reporters, they are coming out with short videos that tell you some things about what our stories are about in Mandinka, in Wolof. You can find them online. And we've got some very interesting, funny for some of them, videos out there. We try to bring a bit of humor. Sometimes we have to be very serious when we're talking about victims. We're talking about people's human rights violations and very serious topics. We try to keep it so serious, but in other times we try to infuse some bit of humor in it. With me today is Askanwi's reporter, Edward Francis Dahlia, on my left. Edward, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
It's indeed a pleasure to have Edward with us, as we highlighted some of the work that our journalists are doing. Edward is one of those who've been with us longest, of course, besides me. So he's really been coming up, doing very well with some of the stories which he wants to, which he's writing about. So of course, I'm giving him direction. So, but Edward, I'd like you to take us away with the start. We wanted to start today. Of course, the death of Bora Colley has been in the news. What can you tell us about so far? What's happening? And we've got a publication on this as well.
Yeah, just today, a publication was done.
Fatoumata Jaita.
Yes. Who brought this publication, coupling it with the write-up which the Edward Francis Small Center for Victims
Rights and Justice,
yes, have just issued also. I think this Bora Colley issue is something that is really disheartening because victims will see it as justice has not been served.
Yes, because he's
passed away without justice being served and so on. But I also believe that in life everything has an end, and we cannot determine the life of a person when it will end or not. But this should be a wake-up call for us, for the government, I believe. For the TRRC recommendation made it that they should be prosecuted, and we are in the post-TRRC era. So what is the government doing to fast-track this thing so that everything will be set, so that these people will start to be prosecuted? Because victims are dying, more so perpetrators are dying.
Perpetrators are now dying.
Yeah.
So victims were dying, and that was one of the big things that people were always talking about. But now we are seeing perpetrators are also dying, which is also a big problem. That makes a challenge. That highlights that it's high time for the government to move quicker with regards to prosecutions and applying the recommendations. It's important to highlight that the government, through the Ministry of Justice, has highlighted that there would be definitely an inquest into the matter on his death. So we are not going into the speculations about him and his death. What we do know is that he was ill before he handed himself in. He was not arrested. He willingly came in and handed himself in, and it's been said that he's been helping the authorities significantly.
Facilitating everything.
Yes, so...
I think it's best also you highlight when he handed himself.
Yes.
Which year was it and the date? And
yes, if you've got that information, perhaps...
Yeah, it was in August last year. Yeah, since August last year, he was in the hands of the Gambia army. Yeah. So
And we've been asking questions around this, actually. We have one reporter who has been following this news, but unfortunately, we didn't get the information which we were looking for. But for now, what we know is he's passed away, and that unfortunately there will be some sort of an inquest on his death, but that's as far as we can go. We cannot speculate or, talk about much more than what we've got. And civil society organizations, Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, are urging the government to investigate, bring the matter to light to ascertain what caused his death. From that, we will move on to the second topic which we want to talk about, which is, of course, the issue of illegal firearms. Another publication by Fatoumata Jaite. She wrote a story which we just published just today. You can go and check it out, highlighting the issue of firearms. What's in there? It's got a very interesting headline. Tell them, what is the headline of this story, and what can you tell us about what Fatoumata Jaite has found in the story?
From harmony to hostility, the Gambia struggles with illegal firearms. And this is something very strange when it comes to the Gambia. We are struggling with illegal firearms. Yeah, firearms have been here, but they are legally given the license. For example, those hunting, they need these firearms to hunt.
Yes.
So, but now unlicensed firearm coming to the country and even being used. We can see the last incident, the El Hila incident, the Access Bank incident. All of these are unlicensed firearms being used.
Yes.
And now the police have come up with another thing to say that they have just prosecuted someone.
Yes, a 60-year-old, 61-year-old man.
Man, I think what is the name even? Raki. Yeah.
Which highlights that this is a growing trend. We've got some series of examples in that story detailing number of these incidents that are happening just within 2025 alone. At least 3 or 4 separate incidents have happened that involve firearms within the space of 3 months.
From January to March.
We haven't even finished March. We're in mid-March. So this is a call for concern. Of course, we've had the Interior Minister coming out last week saying that the Gambia is the safest country in West Africa.
That has not been fact-checked yet, but I think it's something that worth fact-checking, because to say that it is the safest in West Africa, it might be true, but it might not also be true. So it needs to be interrogated, because there are certain claims that we need to interrogate.
And certainly the Gambia is not the United States with regards to open carry and all those kind of things, where we've seen, unfortunately, massacres happening, people having access to very serious, weapons. And this is not the first time in the Gambia, because some years back, if you can remember the Gach guns saga, where number of guns were confiscated, and apparently they were for hunting. But people raise concern that some of those guns look like assault weapons that are not, consistent for, hunting. That was an issue, just to highlight that this is something that we as a country need to be serious about. We are obviously concerned about as journalists, and we will be keeping a very close eye on this issue. We are not going to leave that one to like that. So from that, we will move on to something we hinted on the U.S. We'll move on to the U.S. The United States President Donald Trump has been raising tariffs, highlighting that he would raise tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and then going back on his, his threats, if you could put it that way. But we've seen Canada has responded and retaliated. And of course, it's now even moving into the EU, where the US president is highlighting on social media, which is one of his main platforms, Truth Social, he goes on and highlights a number of rants that the EU was established to take advantage of the United States, and that they are putting tariffs on goods coming from the United States to the Europe, and that the US would retaliate. EU is also retaliating. Obviously, we cannot forget China is also very important in this. The US has also started a trade war with China, where they are putting tariffs on goods coming from China to the United States. Currently, electronic vehicles coming from the United States, from the China to United States, are 100%, have a tariff of 100% on them. But just before we go into one of the latest news which we've seen concerning the US and Gambia even, we've seen stock markets across the globe reacting to President Trump.
Yeah, because this will cause inflation, and it will hinder the economy of the world. Not only US, China, or Canada, but the world itself, the economy of the world. It will hinder it because putting tariff on goods and services will push prices to go up. And if prices goes up, people will suffer. Most especially the people who are extremely poor, they will suffer. So this is a concern.
Indeed. And the unfortunate thing is that it's occurring between the United States and their closest allies. Of course, Canada and Mexico are two of the countries they most trade with, cross-border trade with, being next door to the United States. Of course, you've seen that the EU, we all know, is a strong ally, or was supposed to be a strong ally of the US. They come together to form NATO, but that is in jeopardy, given the relationship displayed live on television between the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, and Donald Trump. They got into a shouting match. It wasn't so bad when the Prime Minister of Ireland traveled to the United States, but it was on the border. And just recently, we've seen in the news that the United States has or is preparing a list.
The breaking news.
Yes, just breaking news of just yesterday we're getting this. There's a draft list of proposed travel ban countries that the United States will ban. There's a red list, all travel ban countries. This list has not been issued yet, and of course it might change. There is a draft list of all travel banned countries, where countries like Afghanistan, Bhutan, Cuba, Iran, Libya, North Korea, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Venezuela, and Yemen are all travel banned. Orange, visa sharply restricted. This is also another tier. They have 3 tiers: red, orange, and yellow. The Gambia is in the yellow list. The orange list, visas sharply restricted. Now, those countries are Belarus, Eritrea, Haiti, Laos, Myanmar, Pakistan, Russia, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, Turkmenistan. You will observe there's a trend with a lot of these countries. Most of them are black and brown countries, you could say. We must highlight that in Trump's first year in office, he attempted to ban countries which he said are Muslim countries, and at that time he came up with words like shithole countries. Sorry to use those language, but just to recall what happened. And it seems like a similarity. When you look at the countries that are listed here, they are very similar countries. Of course, they will try not to use the word Muslim this time, but certainly these are countries, most of them are. Now, the 60 days to address concerns, this is where Gambia are in the yellow list.
Yeah, Gambia in the
yellow list, yes. Together with Equatorial Guinea, where former President Jammeh is currently residing. And a number of other countries are here. There are so many that I don't want to list them all out to take too much time. But Gambia is there together with Liberia and other African countries. There are some West African countries here. Let me call out just the West African countries. We've got Benin, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Cape Verde, Chad, Liberia, as I already said, Mali, Mauritania, to some extent, not so much. But these are the countries. Gambia is in a list. The United States is thinking of those countries that they would ban. This list is not out yet. By the way, this news is brought out by the New York Times. What's your reaction to?
To me, I'm
possible travel ban.
Possible travel ban to U.S.
Yes.
This will be a disaster to Gambia. This will be a disaster to Gambia. How many Gambians are living in the U.S.? How many of them?
So over 20,000.
If U.S. now impose a travel ban, what does it mean to them?
But those ones who have already got visas, maybe they'll be exempted.
Yeah.
But they might not give any new visas.
And now to come and to go, how will it be? Go in and out. To come to the Gambia and you go in back. So these are all things that we need to look at. And Gambia, we have been given 60 days. So I think the government should do something under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
It will be interesting for us to know what are the issues for the government to address. Has the U.S. communicated to the Gambia to say that these are the issues you must address? Some people are saying, of course, our documentations are easier to access by people who are non-Gambians. They can easily buy it. And then some others are saying that this is actually a good thing. It will mean our officials, let them stay in the country and work rather than traveling to the U.S., etc., and wasting public funds. What's your view to that?
Yeah, to me, you cannot stop migration. You cannot restrict anyone from traveling. But everyone have a right to travel, but it must be for a purpose. So if you are traveling to waste public funds, it's better you sit here and do your work, not you going out to just eat per diem and come back. And come back,
indeed. So, well, we'll have to watch that space and see, because it's supposed to be very soon. Hopefully, we will get to know what the U.S. is doing with regards to banning countries like the Gambia, which it currently has in its yellow tier list. Once again, for those of you who may be listening, you're welcome to Askanwi Media. I am Yusuf Taylor. I'm bringing you the Askanwi Weekly review, and with me is Edward Francis Dahlia, senior reporter here at Askanwi Media. If you have any comments, please do share it in the comment section so that we can address your concerns. You may have something that you think that we should look at, or something that we've missed. Maybe you find that we've covered something that you find interesting. Let us know, so we can give you more of those.
You can highlight that thing also. And even if you are having issues that you need people to write on, we are here. Because we are here for the public.
Especially fact checks. I've received some fact check suggestions from some people. We want to receive more fact check suggestions from people. Some people have said that, why is it that you people are always only fact checking the government? So I said that, well, you know, we have a criteria actually of fact checking. We don't just fact check any Tom, Dick and Harry.
Yeah, that is it also.
Yeah, we fact check mostly official sources. For example, people who are paid officials, mainly, because that's their job. What they are putting out is supposed to be authentic. We do fact check people who are high in status in the country, opposition, of course, who have parties making up statements that believe should be fact checked. We do fact check issues which we feel that when you look at it, it's widely shared. It's got a wide reach. This information has been shared and a lot of people are sharing it. Those are some of the things. We also try to avoid amplifying wrong claims by doing our fact checks sometimes. So there's a criteria. It's not so easy. It's not so straightforward. And we do have a limited resource, but between us, we managed to get through a number of fact checks, don't we?
Yeah, we tried. Because last year we fact checked over 30.
Yes, last year we did over 30 fact checks, and this year we are moving. We've got a good number of fact checks done within the first 2 months.
Yeah.
We've got 2 fact checks which we just issued this week. But before we go on to that, this is almost like a fact check. We want to debunk the Minister of Justice's explanation. According to the Minister of Justice, a new constitution would have addressed the issue of diaspora voting. This is what the Justice Minister was highlighting. Some people said, well, is this to sort of give the draft constitution another lease of life? Or is the minister misleading the National Assembly members? Because of when I looked into it, I looked at the 2020 draft constitution and I looked at the 2024 draft constitution. The diaspora are not designated any constituents. There is not a constituency for the diaspora. And what needs to happen, according to almost everybody, is that there needs to be constituencies demarcated for Gambians in the diaspora. But that has not happened. But yet still, the Justice Minister was claiming that the draft constitution they were coming up with would have addressed some of those concerns. When you look at the draft constitution, the number of National Assembly members, they are all located within the country. Yes, both the 2020 and the 2024. In fact, from 2020, there was no nominated member.
Yeah, 2020, eliminated the nominated members.
No nominated member was in the 2020 draft constitution. Now, in the 2024 draft constitution, the 5 nominated members have been brought back. Instead of giving diaspora 5 constituencies, the executive opted to return back 5 National Assembly members. And not only that, they went as far as to put clauses that nominated members can be recalled by the president. Can you imagine a nominated member being recalled by the president? And this is to circumvent the Yakumba Jaite issue which happened, where the president attempted to recall her and put somebody in his place, in her place. But that rule, the law, the justice, the judiciary ruled that was unlawful and brought her back. Now, we are saying that the Minister for Justice claimed that the draft constitution would have addressed the diaspora voting issue is false. It's misleading. It's not true. Because not in the 2020 draft constitution is there a diaspora constituency, and not in the 2024 draft constitution is there a diaspora constituency. Now, because of that, we are saying that the minister's explanation, which led, because the minister continued insisting that they must amend 88, they must amend X, amend Y. Now, we believe it's National Assembly members' responsibility to amend the Constitution. Of course, they have limits to that, which is all in the law. But this particular issue is National Assembly members that are going to have to amend it. Because if they are waiting for the 2020 draft, like the Minister for Justice was trying to highlight, it is not there and it will not address the problem. If members don't believe me, go and do your own research. It's in the schedule. You know what's in the schedule of the 2020 draft constitution. Just go there. Go to the 2024 draft constitution. Go there and check the schedule. You will see. This is what my finding, and I have a publication which I am working on, which will be coming out next week. This is a fact check, even though I'm giving you the information and the juice now, because we have so much that we are working on. Sometimes we need to continue to check what we write first before we publish, and we run it by legal people as well, in some instances, for them to check when we think that something which we are publishing might be controversial.
It's very good that you do that, because or else you will be... They will come for you.
Of course, they will. They are, I'm sure. So, but they would find it difficult to get us.
Yeah, because you are fact-checking, remember? Fact-checking to mislead.
Exactly. What's your opinion on the Minister for Justice telling parliamentarians that, the draft constitution would have addressed some of these issues.
To me, I'm so disappointed because I will just recall that the minister was trying to just influence or what to me. That is what I will try to recall. Was he trying to influence or what? Because giving that statement means influencing them now to reject it. To reject it.
Yeah.
But also I blame the parliamentarians. Don't they know the constitution? Don't they see the draft constitution? Don't they read? So before also you just do something, I think you have to know it. Before also you vote for something, I think you have to know it. It is better you know it.
Yeah.
And you vote not according to what your party wants, but according to the interests of the people. And if you are voting according to the interests of the people, we know that Gambians want their families who are abroad to vote. So if Gambians want people who are abroad to vote, who are you to stand to say that no, it is not something that the constitution has backed? So for me, I believe that the minister failed the people by giving such advice to the parliamentarians. That is what I believe.
Yes, thank you so much for that. I think we had a bit of an interruption on the Wi-Fi. Sorry for those of you who might have missed that. That's why you saw me going up and down trying to address that. But that's been sorted out now. So we'll come back to what you were talking about. But just before that, I wanted to highlight that I found it very strange for the Minister for Justice to actually champion this bill.
Yeah, come and give an advice.
And then his advice was sort of alluding to members to remove it, because he said, even if members pass that clause, that it would be difficult for the IEC to be able to implement it.
Yeah, that is why I said I'm so disappointed. Too. Because what he could have done is try to find ways of how they can address the issue and make sure that these people will vote. Not you telling them to just remove it and allow it like it is.
Indeed. And then now we will come back to the issue which we were talking about, issue of NAWEC. NAWEC has been a major issue, and Gamtel, our state-owned enterprises, are both facing major challenges. Gamtel and NAWEC, we all know what both of them do. NAWEC is the water and electricity company, national water electricity company. Gamtel is the national telecoms company, which also owns Gamcell, another very important telecom company under Gamtel. So, unfortunately, they are being owed.
They are being owed, yeah.
Millions. They themselves are owing.
Yeah, they themselves
as well.
are owing also.
So it's one big financial mess, really. Perhaps we can start with the one that most people talk about, I'm sure, is NAWEC.
NAWEC, yeah.
We can start with NAWEC, and then let's start with NAWEC, and perhaps you can give us another rundown on how NAWEC's financial situation. The Office of the President is owing NAWEC $17 million, almost $17 million, and that was in 2022. God knows what they are owing them now.
Yeah.
What can you tell us? What other institutions are owing NAWEC? What's the situation of NAWEC?
Ministry of Health is topping the list, which $66 million and we have Gamtel itself.
Gamtel is owing
NAWEC.
Yes.
$46 million.
Wow.
Ministry of Defense, $19 million. And these are something that the SOE report highlighted.
The state-owned enterprises report
highlighted. So Gamtel owing NAWEC, and now also battling with financial crisis.
So it's a big mess.
It's a big mess.
It's a big financial mess.
What is so concerning is how will NAWEC survive? The government owning a company, and you are buried in the same company.
And when you look at some of these institutions, they are very well funded. Like the Office of the President is very well funded, and
they are allocated budget,
and they get their, they don't have any problem with getting their funds. So I don't know how comes they have not paid, and then eventually they will come and say, we are going to rescue NAWEC. They will give NAWEC. Why don't they just pay them the amount of money they owe them?
They owe them. And when we just published this, someone who Gambians know, who is an activist, Madi Jobate, just commented on the issue.
What was his comment, please?
This is a very serious matter, he said. First, where has the money budgeted for utilities gone to? Every institution has a huge budget for utilities, which is expected to pay for their water and electricity bill. So, how can these areas could exist in first place? Much more will accumulate to such huge amounts. Secondly, why is the government making the issue of NAWEC a concern when it is the same government killing the corporation? So this is something like government will come and say that we will do this, we will do this, we will do this. We will provide electricity so that it will reach the Gambians all over, which is their target, 2025.
Yep.
And now, you, the government, are owing NAWEC. How can NAWEC achieve that goal? Now it is something like, I will say, politics in play. You are owing them, but now trying to say that you will rescue them.
Just look at that. You know, it's very, very interesting just to see all this happening. It's also important that at the same vein, we highlight one of the latest statements issued by NAWEC, that there will be a nationwide disconnection campaign. They will be disconnecting for those with outstanding bills nationwide, April 2025. Whether that involves the government, we will have to see, because of they are one of the main who owe NAWEC. Most of us are paying cash power. So perhaps it's water they are talking about.
But this water even, NAWEC is bringing bills. But for my own house, for months we have not even received
the bills.
So what we normally do is go there and find out how much we owe and pay. So also NAWEC are contributing for people owing them. If we check, you are not bringing bills to people. So how can people now pay?
Yes, when they don't know
when they don't know the amount. So do you want everyone to go to your office to pay?
Yes, perhaps they want everybody to be like you guys. You guys are doing the good thing. Hopefully that means that you will not be part of those who they are disconnecting. But it's strange. The customers are the ones facing it, but they are paying cash power. Some customers perhaps are owing water. They might be receiving bills and not be paying, and others, they might not be receiving bills, so maybe they will not pay. So NAWEC itself is contributing to this. But it's important for us to highlight how many millions are owed by these institutions. And it's not only the executive, local councils, MDAs, they are all owing. What about Gamtel? What can you tell us about Gamtel?
Yeah, for Gamtel also, they are struggling financially. And we can see that Gamtel as an institution also is going down.
Yes, they are owing. They are owed, or are they owing? Which one is it?
They are owing
and they are owed.
And they are owed.
So also. It's both.
It's both.
Yes.
Because we see that these people are owing each other. Gamtel is facing an unpaid debt. $197 million
Just
unpaid debt.
Gamtel, huh?
Gamtel.
Yes.
These are unpaid debts by other institutions. And the thing is, even individual and business people are owing NAWEC. And now are owing Gamtel rather.
Yes.
Now, Gamtel, the audit report highlighted that because of their billing system, they are not able to ascertain how much money is that.
Wow. So that means people are owing them. Even them, they cannot tell who is owing and how much. And so it could be more than the 197 million.
It could be. Yes. Because some of the individuals and businesses that are owing them, the amount is not stated.
Wow.
So they are raising issue of their billing system being down, so they could not trace all those things. So it is something that is alarming. So how can we recover all those monies?
Yes. So we are saying that 152 million is owed by government ministries, departments and agencies, while SOEs, they themselves, state-owned enterprises themselves are owing them 45 million. And that's how we are coming up to that 197 million. But there are certainly others who are owing. So actually, this is government owed. These are all the government. So basically, these are the government owing. The 197 is the government that owes.
Yeah, it's only the government.
We don't know about the individuals and the
other businesses. We don't know it because the audit report don't highlight it.
The audit report cannot. It doesn't give you the full amount. So we are bringing you this information.
And additionally, Gamtel is owing also an amount of 8.7 million to other SOEs.
You see, Gamtel itself.
Gamtel
itself is owing. You see, so it goes to show you the big mess that this is.
So it is just like financial crisis that our SOEs are battling with, and I hope they will be rescued or they will face privatization.
We are almost at the end. Welcome to Askanwi Media. This is the weekly Askanwi Weekly review. We are almost at the end. We have just some fact checks which we've published this week to bring it down to you. And the first of them, we've actually got a video of this fact check out there, and it's been people are liking it. So basically, sometime last year in November 2024, the Minister for Information, Dr. Ismail Assise, was on QTV, the This Morning show, where he made a number of claims around higher education. Of course, Dr. Ismail Assise was a former university lecturer for political science, but he has now turned into politics and is now the information minister. And his claims were such that Gambia is the only country where the government builds a university and then gets a bus service to shuttle students to and fro. That was one. We fact-checked that and we found out that even that is not true. Just next door in Senegal, the government has done a lot more because the bus service is come about because there is no accommodation for students. So the government has no choice but to shuttle students to and fro Faraba Banta. But once the building accommodation is completed, then less emphasis will be on the bus services. In Senegal, the government there has, in Dakar, put up student accommodations, number of student accommodations, and students are accessing it for free. Electricity bills paid, water bills paid. Students are also even paid a stipend, around $4,500, and the lowest being about $2,500. Subventions are given this amount to help them with their cost of living. In Liberia, they have student bus service there, which is subvented, and students pay a little negligible amount. Last week, we understood that in Gambia, the challenge was there was a challenge. Student bus service was not operating properly. This week that just passed. So we've already seen that. We also looked at examples from Kenya and examples from Ghana, where they have student bus services there, and they also have accommodation for students close to their university campus. So that was the first fact check, and we have one more fact check. But before we go to the last one,
let me just
your response to that.
Sometimes Dr. Ismail Assise is someone who likes talking too much. Sometimes he will just blow it out like that. But even him should have did a homework very well, I think, as a person who was in the university and as a person who travels.
Yes. He knows what happens outside, yes. He was in Sweden and he was in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, it is not like someone just being here in the Gambia. You have traveled. You have seen things outside the world. So making such claims is something like you were just misleading the public or just mocking the public to me.
really, when we had that, of course, I, who have been in university abroad, I know that, I know what exists in the UK where I was, student bus service. We used to access it either free or even at sometimes just maybe at a negligible amount, you know. So those are all services which we used to access. There used to also be accommodation next to or within the campus or very close to the campuses. You know, so these are all things that we've been through. But the biggest one was that $33 million was being put into students' UTG service. That's the Faraba Banta bus service. And we had to go and look at the budget, started digging up the budget, did a lot of work, research, and even sent our budget research to the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, and another publication by Fatou Jaite, and the previous other publication was by Harry Fai. So we got to find out that only in 2024 was there a student bus service for the UTG, because of, that's when it started.
That's
really.
When it started, really.
Yeah, and they only spent 3.5 million. And then this year they are planning on spending around 20 million, highlighting that the ministers claim that 33 million was spent on student bus services every year is false, because it only happened last year. It cannot be every year.
Yes, bus service we are provided to students in the senior secondary school. They focus on the senior secondary school.
Yes.
Those who are going to Gambia High.
Yes.
Those who are going to Muslim High before it was transferred. So those people were being given bus service.
Yes.
I benefited on that. Because I went to St. Augustine's and I graduated there. So I benefited. You will pay something, of course, $5 to have that bus service. But even though it will not amount to 33 million for the government to subvent those bus services. I believe Dr. Ismail Sisa just overstated things.
Really, really overstated it. None of it. The highest we checked for all institutions, the highest was 21 million in 2021 or something like that when we checked. So that's all what we have today, actually. We want to close today's program. What's your last word? Let me see if there's some comments. What's your last word for us before we close this?
Yeah, my last word will be continue to follow Askanwi, continue to support us, and continue to encourage us, because the work that we are doing is not easy, and we need your support, we need your encouragement to be able to continue. There is always something beyond the byline. Indeed. So,
for sure. So next week we'll be here for the Askanwi Weekly review, where we'll give you more trending news. And thank you everybody for tuning in. I'm your host, Yusuf Taylor, Askanwi editor, together with Askanwi senior reporter, Edward Francis Dahlia.
Thank you.
Blessed. Wish you all a blessed weekend.
Thank you.